Have you ever felt helpless watching your child in pain, not knowing what to do to help? Maybe your child is always sick. Maybe they've become rebellious, withdrawn, or lost in their own world. You've tried everything: medicine, school programs, therapy, but somehow, nothing seems to reach the root of the problem. And at some point, you might have asked yourself, what did I do wrong? Why is my child like this, even though I've loved them, cared for them, and sacrificed so much? But what if the issue isn't about mistakes at all? What if it lies in the unseen threads of karma quietly flowing between you and your child? Would you be willing to look a little deeper? Because there's a profound truth in Buddhist teachings. Your child is not your possession. They are a soul on their own journey, yet deeply connected to you through karmic ties, formed over many lifetimes. And here's the beauty of it. You have the power to transform their path not by controlling them, but through the inner work you do on yourself. So today, let's begin a different kind of journey. One that's guided by love, insight, and deep hope. Because the peace inside you might just be the quiet medicine your child has been waiting for. Every word you speak with kindness, every good deed you offer, every moment you sit still and hold your child in your heart with compassion, those are the seeds that can soften the burdens they silently carry. And most of all, it's never too late to begin. No matter where your child is, how far they've gone, or how lost they may seem. Now, let's begin with the first of 7 healing paths a parent can take to help transform their child's karma not through force or fixing, but through deep presence and loving awareness. 1. The home is an energy field, and parents are the ones who shape that field. There's something people rarely notice. A home isn't just a place we live in. It's a living energy field, a subtle but powerful emotional climate created by every breath, every look, every word shared within it. And a child grows up breathing in that atmosphere. Picture a small, simple room. A few chairs, a dining table, a humble kitchen. But if that room is filled with yelling, heavy sighs, silent tension, or cold indifference, then even if the child doesn't understand the words, they'll still feel the weight. Their tiny body will tense up. Their heart will race. And over time, that emotional pressure starts shaping who they become. Now imagine that same room, but instead, it's filled with soft music in the background, with parents who smile gently at each other, with moments of calm when the family simply sits together, sharing tea or quiet. In that space, regardless of wealth or status, the child is growing up inside a healing field. This isn't theory. Over the years, countless parents have asked me, why is my child becoming more unstable as they grow? They're angry, easily triggered, distant. What should I do to fix them? And sometimes, the answer they least expect is, don't rush to fix your child. Look first at the energy of your home. Because children don't grow in a vacuum. They grow in the emotional climate created by their parents every single day. I once met a boy in California, around 9 years old. He was constantly agitated, struggled with sleep, quick to anger. His mother, deeply loving, had taken him to every specialist she could find. Tried all kinds of medications, but nothing worked. Until we sat and talked. And slowly, the truth became clear. At home, the parents didn't scream, but they argued often in quiet, tense ways. The mother carried constant anxiety. The father was silent, distant, always sighing. The house had no laughter, no peace. And while the boy couldn't explain why this body and behavior were doing the talking, so they made just one small shift. Every night, the family sat together for 10 minutes, no phones. The mom played soft meditation music. The dad learned to simply breathe with his son without saying much. Just breathing and looking at his child with kind, open eyes. 3 months later, The boy began sleeping better. His anger softened. No more medication. That's the power of the energy field. Not rushed actions, but steady presence. In Buddhism, there's a saying, when the mind is calm, the world is calm. If a parent's mind is filled with unrest, even the most beautiful home will feel unsafe to a child. But if the parent's heart is at peace, even a modest home becomes a sanctuary. Inside every child, there's a hidden garden. When parents are rushed, reactive, and anxious, the garden withers. But when parents pause, breathe, light a candle, play soft music, or simply smile gently, it's like a soft rain begins to fall. Maybe no one sees it right away, but the roots begin to heal. One father once told me, "I didn't know how to help my son. He was distant, quiet, shut down. I thought I'd lost him." But instead of pushing or demanding answers, he just stood outside his son's room every morning and said softly, "I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here, and I love you." Simple words, spoken every day. They opened a door he thought was sealed forever. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be the safe sky your child can come home to. So instead of fixing your child, start by adjusting the weather inside your home. That climate isn't made of wind or temperature, it's made of the energy you bring each day. The tone of your voice. The patience when mistakes happen. The way you look at your child when they struggle. And yes, you might ask, but how can I be calm when life is so overwhelming? It's a fair question. And the answer is, you don't need to be peaceful all the time. You just need to create one small island of stillness inside the storm. Maybe a little corner in your house where you light incense. Hang a peaceful image. Sit still for 5 minutes each day. Maybe just one kind word instead of criticism. One gentle gesture, repeated daily, that's enough to warm the emotional climate of your home. A flower won't bloom just because you pull on it. It blooms because the environment is right: sunlight, water, good soil. Your child is the same. You don't need to force them to change. Just nurture a safe space and they will heal in their own way, in their own time. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to wait for anyone else to change. Because the one who can transform the energy of your home is you. So slow down, breathe, and ask, what kind of atmosphere am I creating in my home today? When we truly understand that the home is the soil for a child's soul, we stop trying to fix them, and instead, we quietly become the fertile ground where their seeds can bloom in the most beautiful way. 2. Doing good and dedicating merit to your child. There are moments deep in a parent's heart when a feeling of complete helplessness rises. Watching your child suffer, lose direction, or carry emotional wounds while you stand there, unable to change anything. Sometimes your child is sick for reasons no doctor can explain. Sometimes they seem to have everything: comfort, education, opportunity, but inside they're lost, sad, rebellious, distant, like a closed door that no one can open. And in those moments, some parents say, "I wish I could carry some of this pain for my child." That isn't just a sentimental thought. That's love speaking. And that love, in Buddhist practice, leads us to something profound: the dedication of merit. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a deep understanding that often gets overlooked. Karma is not a life sentence. It's not a stone pressed down on our shoulders, unmovable. Karma is a current of energy, and, like all currents, it can be redirected, not by force, not by control, but by the power of good deeds done with mindfulness and a compassionate heart. There have been many parents who, when nothing else worked, not advice, not therapy, not intervention, they turned toward the quietest, most powerful path. They began doing good and offered every bit of that goodness to their child. There was a mother whose son had been battling drug addiction for years. She had tried everything: rehab, doctors, even sending him away for recovery, but nothing worked. One day, she heard a Buddhist teacher say, "When you can't help your loved one directly, step into spiritual practice. Do good, meditate, pray, and sincerely dedicate your actions. Even a single drop of compassion can begin to cool the fire of karma." From that day on, she quietly cooked meals for the homeless every week. And each time, she whispered in her heart, "May this small act bring some light into my son's heart. Even if he doesn't see it, may this good energy still reach him." Time passed. He didn't change overnight. But one day, out of nowhere, he called her and asked if they could talk. That phone call was the start of something new. Not fast, but real. And it began with one thing. A mother stopped trying to control and started to love through quiet, meaningful action. In Buddhist teachings, this is called dedicating merit, a sacred practice of offering any goodness we create, not for ourselves, but humbly for others. No rituals needed, just a sincere thought after every good deed. May this merit help lift the unseen burdens my child is carrying. May this light reach them wherever they may be lost. That's enough. Some may wonder, I'm just an ordinary person. If I help someone cross the street or give $1 to a homeless person, could that really help my child? The answer is yes. Every act of kindness born from sincerity holds power. In this universe, no action is meaningless when it carries light and awareness. The Buddha once said in the Dhammapada, "Just as water soaks into the earth, even the smallest acts of goodness can gently soften the driest hearts." Each act is like a single drop. One drop may not seem like much, but hundreds, thousands. They seep into karmic layers that no words or medicine can reach. Others may ask, "But I'm not a Buddhist. I don't chant or meditate every day. Will my merit still count?" Absolutely. The Buddha never asked us to become someone else. He only asked us to live kindly, to do good, to think of others not for praise but from the heart. Maybe it's a kind word to a lonely elder. Maybe 5 minutes of silence at the end of a long day. Maybe it's a heartfelt thank you to an old friend. And then softly, you send that goodness toward your child without expecting anything back. They don't even need to know. You don't need to see results tomorrow. Just trust with a heart like stone and an intention as light as air. Karma will know which direction to move. It's like a river carving through stone. It seems unstoppable until one small blade of grass begins to bend toward the sunlight. And over time, the river shifts. Our children are like that too. Sometimes they resist. Sometimes they don't understand. But when the energy from our hearts is consistent and sincerely rooted in kindness, and merit begins to flow into their lives, like a small stream moving quietly under stone. This is how we help. Not by fixing, not by forcing, not even by fully understanding, but by planting one good seed each day and sending it off like a prayer. My dear child, this light is for you, even if you don't see it now. I trust it will reach you right where you need it most. So if you're holding pain because your child is suffering and you feel powerless, try this path. Quietly build goodness, then dedicate it. Because there are things we can't touch with our hands, but we can still change them through energy. 3. Purifying family karma through daily repentance. There are pains children carry that no doctor can explain. A healthy child suddenly falls ill over and over again. A once gentle, well-behaved child becomes angry, unstable, or hard to control. And often, in confusion and fear, parents look outward trying every solution they can find. But the deepest layer often goes untouched. The karmic energy quietly flowing through the family line. There's a beautiful and deep truth in Buddhist teachings. Karma is not bad. It's simply the lingering imprint of actions from this life and many lives before. And sometimes those imprints don't begin with the child. They're inherited. A silent anger that was never spoken. A wound that was never healed. A sorrow, a resentment, passed down again and again until one day a child unknowingly becomes the one to carry it. Not because they did anything wrong, not because their parents failed, but simply because karma wants to be seen so it can be released. A woman once shared about her 13-year-old son. He was depressed, refused to go to school, couldn't sleep, felt like he had no voice. No therapist could reach him. Until one day, she stopped asking, "What's wrong with my child?" and instead asked herself, "Is there anything in me I've never spoken? Any anger I've swallowed? Any pain I've tried to bury?" She remembered her childhood growing up in a violent home, being taught that crying was weakness, and that children should never speak when adults were upset. She had carried all that into motherhood, unintentionally passing it on. Not through words, but through energy. Her silence had become his silence. From that day, she started a quiet practice. Each morning, she sat still for 10 minutes and breathed. Then gently, in her heart, she said, "My child, if I've unknowingly passed my pain to you, I repent. I may not understand it all yet, but I am ready to begin healing. Not once, but every day. Not out of guilt, but to open a new space." Because in Buddhism, repentance isn't about punishment or self-blame. It's about light. It's about having the courage to look into our own darkness so we don't pass it on any further. There's a beautiful teaching from the sutras. When a mother sincerely repents, her energy becomes light that reaches her child even from far away. Why is that? Because true connection doesn't live in words. It lives in energy. A baby who can't speak still feels the mother's gaze. A grown child, even after leaving home, can still be moved by a shift in their parents' energy. A meditation master once said, "A child is like a mirror. If the parent is unsettled, the reflection will be distorted. But when the parent becomes still, the image clears and the child's inner light begins to shine again." So when your child is struggling, don't rush to ask, "How do I fix them?" Ask instead, "Is there something in me that still needs peace?" It could be an abandoned dream, an old grudge, a broken relationship, a sadness you buried long ago. And if those things aren't seen, they find another way to speak. Sometimes through illness, sometimes through intense emotions, sometimes through a child who just can't sleep. Each day, take a few minutes to meditate not as a performance, but as a return to yourself. Imagine lights surrounding your child. Send them the words you've never spoken. "My dear one, I'm learning to heal myself, so I no longer pass this pain to you." And slowly, the knots of karma begin to loosen. No drama, no noise, just like water seeping quietly into stone. Because sincerity is the most powerful energy in the universe. A flower can't thrive if its roots are poisoned. A child is the same. Even if you care for their body, if the spiritual roots of the family remain wounded, your child may still carry invisible pain. Repentance is how we purify those roots. It's how we say to our child, not with words, but with frequency, "You are loved." And we, as parents, are learning how to love in the right way. And if you're thinking, "It's too late, my child is already grown," they've already pulled away. Please, don't believe that. There's no such thing as too late in the world of karma and spirit. The moment you begin, with one breath, one sincere apology in your heart, one mindful moment, that old current of karma finally has a chance to change direction. 4. A parent's words are the mantras that shape a child's future. There's something strange that many people don't notice. We don't just grow up on food, we grow up on words. The things parents say, especially the ones they repeat day after day, whether they mean to or not, eventually become the inner voice of a child. And that child will grow up carrying those whispers in their mind, sometimes without even realizing it. A middle-aged man once sat across from me, holding back tears. He said, "I've made it in life. I have a home, a career, people respect me. But deep down, I always feel like I'm not enough. Like someone inside is always saying, 'Don't do it. You'll mess it up.'" When I asked more, he paused for a long time and finally said, "Maybe it's because when I was a kid, my father always yelled, 'You ruin everything. Whatever you touch, you fail.' That wasn't just a sentence. It was a spell. Not in a superstitious way, but in a real psychological sense. When words are repeated often enough, with strong emotion, they start to carry a kind of energy, one that shapes the mind. In Buddhism, we have something called mantras, sacred words repeated with mindfulness to create positive energy. But in everyday life, a parent's words become a kind of everyday mantra. They can heal, or they can wound, not with fists, but with beliefs. Some children don't need to be hit or screamed at to carry pain. All it takes is hearing things like, "You're so lazy. You're not that smart. Why can't you be more like other kids?" Just that. And they begin to believe it. And that belief follows them for years like a shadow stuck to their back. But the opposite is also true. If a child hears words like, "You are loved. You are enough. You're growing stronger every day," even if they don't believe it, yet a seed is planted. And when the time is right, that seed will bloom. One mother once shared a touching story. Her 17-year-old son was deeply depressed. He barely spoke, locked himself away, and stayed in darkness. She had yelled, cried, blamed him, blamed herself, until one day, she stopped trying to fix him. Instead, every morning, she simply placed a meal by his door and whispered, "You are loved. You don't have to be perfect. I just want you to know you are not alone." She did that. Every morning. No response, no expectation. Until one day, the door opened. Her son stood there, didn't say a word, just cried. Not because the words were magic, but because love, when offered patiently and consistently, can pass through any wall, even the wall of depression, even the defenses of a wounded heart. And that's something many parents don't realize. Your child doesn't need you to be a psychologist. They don't need you to have all the answers. They just need to hear your faith, not your fear. A child might make a mistake, but if the first thing they hear is, "You're so stupid. Why didn't you listen? You messed it all up again," then that wound might cut deeper than the mistake itself. But if instead, during those lost moments, your child hears, "You're learning. Everyone stumbles, but you're growing stronger day by day," that gives them the strength to come back. Just like in meditation, when the mind wanders, we don't scold it. We simply and gently guide it home. Children are the same. When they rebel, shut down, or lash out, don't label them. Don't rush to blame. Just repeat words of trust, like a quiet message that says, "I still see the good in you, even if you don't see it yet." That's not lying. That's leading your child back to their true nature. Because deep inside, everyone has a light. Sometimes it's just covered up by pain, fear, or judgment. And parents, you're the first ones who can help bring that light back. With your words. One day, your child won't remember what toys you bought. They won't remember how many rules you gave. They'll remember what you said to them in their most vulnerable moments. And if you start today, even if they don't respond, even if they seem distant, the energy is being planted. And one day, they'll grow into the very belief you've been gently breathing into them. One word, one day, one loving whisper at a time. 5. Your child's soul didn't come to you by chance. It's a sacred appointment across lifetimes. Have you ever looked into your child's eyes and felt something deeply familiar? Not just the connection of blood and DNA, but something beyond that, as if this soul had been with you before. Somewhere, sometime, long before you ever called each other mother or father and child. There's a beautiful truth in Buddhist teachings. Children don't come into our lives by coincidence. It's not random DNA, not blind fate. It's a karmic reunion woven through the threads of many lifetimes. Each soul is on its own journey, and on that path, there are destined encounters where two souls meet again to give something, to learn something, or to continue a story left unfinished in a previous life. Some children come as pure blessings. They're kind, bright, and gentle like sunlight that warms the entire household. And sometimes, you might even think, I don't deserve this child. It's like they came to teach me how to love again. But others come with challenges. They might be hard to connect with, quick to anger, or simply leave you feeling exhausted. And it's easy to fall into the question, why did I end up with a child like this? But if you look deeper, you'll see that child didn't come to hurt you. They came to help your soul grow even if your outer self doesn't understand it yet. One mother shared the story of her autistic son. She had felt frustrated, heartbroken, even resentful. Why, she asked, do others get healthy kids and I don't? Then one day, she came across a Buddhist teaching that said, when past karma ripens, those who owe each other return under the same roof, not for punishment, but for healing. That one line shifted something inside her. She stopped seeing her son as a burden. She began to see him as a tiny teacher showing her what patience means, what acceptance feels like, and what it is to love without expecting anything back. From that shift, she discovered something inside herself, a light she had never touched before, not as a wife, a daughter-in-law, or an employee. Her child, even with limited speech, became her path of practice, a daily lesson in mindfulness, compassion, and presence. Spiritual growth through real-life parenting. And many people have shared something similar. Children don't come to be copies of us. They come to help us remember who we really are. Every child, easy or difficult, soft-spoken or rebellious, carries a karmic lesson. Some come to repay love. Some come to test our patience. Some come to make us stop, reflect, and begin healing. In fact, many parents only discover meditation, chanting, or spiritual inquiry after becoming a parent. Because raising a child is not just about food, school, and sleep. It's a daily mirror. Every tantrum, illness, moment of sadness touches something inside us. Maybe an old wound, a forgotten belief, or a fear we've never faced. And in those moments, instead of asking, why is my child like this? Try asking, what is my child helping me see in myself? That's when real transformation begins. There's an old story from the Buddhist scriptures. A mother, grieving her child lost in war, begged the Buddha to bring him back. The Buddha told her, find me one mustard seed from a house that has never known death. She went house to house and found none. In the end, she understood. Every soul that enters our life and leaves comes with a reason. Even goodbyes are part of the lesson. Not every child is meant to stay forever. Some souls come for just a few short years. Some come with illness to teach the family what it means to let go, to accept, and to cherish every breath. But whether for a short visit or a lifetime, the spiritual impact of that child is profound. Many parents only begin meditating when their child suffers. Many only learn to love themselves after realizing they've passed their pain down to their children. And many only step onto a true spiritual path because they became a parent. So yes, your child came to help your soul grow, not through theory, but through daily practice, loving, teaching, caring, stumbling, and rising again. And if you ever feel tired or overwhelmed, please remember, this isn't just a biological duty. This is a soul agreement, a sacred appointment made across lifetimes between you and your child, not to repay old debts, but to grow together, to learn together, to return to the light side by side. 6. It's not what you do, it's how present you are. Mindful parenting starts with being there. There's a quiet but powerful truth about parenting that often gets overlooked. Kids don't need us to do a million things for them. What they really need is for us to be fully present. That might sound simple, maybe even a bit cliché. But if you pause for a moment and quietly observe a normal day, you might realize most of the time we're physically there, but not really there. We're eating dinner with our kids, but our mind is running through unpaid bills and unanswered emails. We're playing with them, but sneaking glances at our phone. We're listening to their stories, but internally thinking, what should I cook tonight? Or, that deadline's coming up tomorrow. And later we think, I spent the whole day with them. But what our kids actually needed wasn't just our body in the room. It was our heart, our attention, our soul present. In Buddhism, that presence is called mindfulness. It means your body is here. Your mind is also here. And children, in a way that's almost magical, they feel that. Even if they can't explain it in words, they can sense it in your energy. One father shared this story. Every evening, he spent 30 minutes playing with his 5-year-old son. He proudly called it quality time. But one night, his son looked up and said, "Dad, can you play with me without thinking about work?" That line hit him like a pin to the heart. Because even though he was smiling, talking, playing, inside, he was analyzing emails, worrying about tomorrow's report. His son didn't know that logically, but he felt it. Children feel our absence even when we're physically right beside them. There's a beautiful image in Buddhism. A flower doesn't need you to lecture it. Just water it with genuine presence and it will bloom on its own. Children are the same. They don't need us to be psychology experts. They don't need us to have all the answers. They just need us to be there calmly, patiently, without judgment, with love. When we're mindfully present with our children, something incredible happens. They start to feel that they matter. They learn how to love themselves. And deeper still, they learn how to be present with themselves just by watching how we're present with them. Some parents ask me, but how can I be present when I'm exhausted, overwhelmed, and constantly worrying? The answer isn't about quitting your job or meditating for 3 hours a day. It's about small, real moments that you give your full self to. Like this. When you hug your child, don't rush it. Pause for 5 seconds. Breathe with them. Feel their warmth in your arms. No need to say anything. Just be there. That's meditation with your heart. Or during dinner, instead of hurrying or correcting, try simply smiling and saying, "Thank you for eating with me." That one sentence, spoken slowly, kindly, can create a space of peace. Your child might not respond, but their heart will remember. And when they come to tell you a little story, even if it's silly, put your phone down. Look them in the eyes, as if nothing else matters in that moment. Because for them, it doesn't. That kind of listening is soul food for a child. I've heard many parents ask, "Why is my child growing distant? How can I build trust again?" The answer doesn't lie in how much money you spend or how many activities you sign them up for. It lies in the quality of your presence. Each day, there was a child in therapy who said, "I know my parents love me, but they're always busy. I don't want gifts. I just want someone to look at me when I'm talking." That is the silent hunger of so many kids today. Not for food, not for toys, but for presence. A type of emotional hunger, nameless but deep. And if right now you feel like you've missed too many moments, please don't blame yourself. We're all learning. We've all been distracted. But you can start again right now with a breath, a gentle gaze, a hug that isn't in a hurry. Mindfulness isn't some faraway thing reserved for temples. It lives in these simple, sacred moments when you show up fully for your child and for yourself. And that is the greatest gift you could ever give. Not material things, but shared presence, a deeply lived life together. 7. No matter how late it feels, it's never too late to begin with love. There are moments in life when a parent sits in silence, looking at their child and feels like they've already lost them. Not because the child is gone. They still live under the same roof. But their eyes feel distant. Their words grow cold. The door stays closed. And the heart feels oceans apart. Some parents whisper to themselves, "I've lost my child." And those words sound final, like a sentence with no appeal. But the truth is, it's never too late if love is still in your heart. In Buddhist teachings, love isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a living energy, not defined by age, not limited by distance, and certainly not measured by how much time has passed. In listening to many family stories, I've seen cases where, at first glance, people would say, "This one's hopeless." A boy, deep in addiction, ran away from home more than once, got arrested, brought his parents to their knees in despair. But it wasn't therapy or experts that turned him around. It was one thing, his mother's unconditional love. Not overnight, not through lectures or demands, but through quiet, steady presence, without judgment. She had tried everything, and when nothing seemed to work, she did one simple thing. Every night, she sat in front of his photo. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She just placed her hand over her heart and whispered, "I'm still here, my child. No matter where you are, no matter who you become, I love you just as I did on day one." She repeated that every night, like a prayer, like a thread, from her heart to his. Then one day, the phone rang. It was him. No apologies. No promises. Just, "Mom, do you still want to see me?" That's all. Because real love doesn't need perfect words. Just a tiny opening for light to shine through. The Buddha once said, "Even a small light, if it persists, can dispel darkness that's lasted 1,000 years." Love is like that. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to convince. It just needs to keep flowing patiently, without condition, without giving up. A father once said, "I was so angry at my son I wanted to cut him off. But then I remembered I too was once lost. And if no one had believed in me, I may never have found my way back." So he started texting his son once a week, even when there was no reply. Just simple messages like, "I'm thinking of you," or "I remember when you used to fall asleep in my arms." And slowly, after months, came a message back. "I remember too. There is no light, more powerful than the quiet, steady light of a parent who refuses to give up. Because no matter how far a child goes, they always carry a piece of their parents' love. Maybe hidden, maybe frozen, but it's still there. And the only thing that can awaken that part isn't scolding or pressure. It's patient, consistent, unconditional love. Love that doesn't expect instant results. Love that doesn't demand change. Love that just keeps flowing like water over stone until even the hardest rock begins to soften. Some may say, love alone isn't enough. But the truth is, love done right is never too late. Love with mindfulness. Love with presence. Love without labeling. Love without clinging. In the final years of life, many parents don't regret the toys they couldn't buy. What they do regret is disconnecting too soon, while their child was still there, just waiting for someone to believe in them again. So if today, your child feels too far gone, if you think too many years have passed, if you fear it's too late to begin again, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself softly, do I still love them? If the answer is yes, then it's not too late. Not with love. And so, we've walked together through some quiet but powerful paths a parent can take to help transform their child's karma. Not by force, but through love, mindfulness, and peaceful presence from the heart. From creating a loving home, to daily acts of repentance, to offering merit, speaking kind words, and being truly present, to the deepest truth of all, that your child didn't come to you by chance, but through a soul agreement across lifetimes. And no matter how lost they seem today, you can always begin again with one thing that's never too late: unconditional love. There's no gift more precious than the energy you nurture in your own heart. No prayer more powerful than a parent's quiet, steady faith. If you're on that journey, know this: you're not alone. And if today is your first step, then today is the first day your child receives a new light in their soul. Thank you for staying with us all the way here. If these words have touched something in your heart, please subscribe to Buddhism Seeds. Like and share this video with those who may need it, and leave a comment below so we can keep spreading the light of mindfulness and compassion to every home. See you in the next video. May you and your child always walk together in love, understanding, and the light of the Dharma.